Hey, friends. So, those of you that know me really well know that I am a diehard 49er fan, have been for as long as I can remember. So, you can only imagine my mood this week. But what you don't know about me is I also struggle with anxiety, not as much as I used to, but struggle with anxiety. But one thing that I really struggle with is ruminating thoughts. So, uh, rehashing plays from Sunday's game has been running through my mind. And it's not by choice. I'm not trying to do anything, but this isn't something that just happens, say, with a football game. This is something I struggle with a lot. I can have a thought pop into my head at night as I'm getting ready for bed, and literally that thought just keeps running and running and running. And in some cases, it grows and grows and grows. A trigger or a topic that tends to trigger my rumination has to do a lot with anything that has to do with people. And so, all that to say, I decided I'm going to look up a little bit on rumination today and see, like, what do the experts say is a good thing to do? Because I know what I do in order to try and quiet my thoughts, but I wanted to see what they had to say. So here's one thing. First of all, rumination tends to come out of a lot of mental health concerns or issues like anxiety, can be OCD, all of those things, but also can be from trauma, past trauma, and things that maybe you haven't worked through. And so that was interesting to me because as a young child, as a young kid, I did have a lot of trauma around relationships, friendships, things like that. So not to get too much into that, but it's no surprise that those tend to be the triggers for my ruminating thoughts. Also, things that are out of your control, like a football game. But anyway, I'm doing this video for one, just, I like to share what's going on with me, but two, because I wanted to share with you some things that you can do if you also struggle with ruminating thoughts. So, I found a whole bunch of tips and things that people can do. But I'm sharing the ones that I saw and also I've tried that work fairly well, and just a couple things that, I'm adding to the list. So first of all, naming it, right? Just first of all, knowing that you are having ruminating thoughts and naming the thought that you are having so that you're shifting yourself from, okay, this is reality and I need to figure this out, to, okay, I'm dealing with rumination right now. I'm not dealing actually with this is something I need to figure out. So that was one thing. The next thing is to put the whole thought into some perspective. You've stopped yourself from thinking that this is reality and you're stuck in a thought cycle. Now you're stuck in a thought cycle. So put the whole thought into some perspective. Like, first of all, you don't need to figure this out right now. Or this is not something that is important enough for you to be thinking about this much, or whatever it is that the thought is, and putting it into some sort of realistic perspective. Then what I have found works best for me, and I see this as like the number one tip, is to distract yourself. Go find something else to do. For me, reading a book doesn't get myself out of my head enough. So like watching a movie, listening to a podcast, getting out of the house for me where it can be too quiet, and getting distracted like in a coffee shop or something, going and doing something else so that you're not just sitting there thinking. Your mind is now distracted. The next thing is just determining, okay, is there anything in this thought that I actually can control and should do something about? So maybe it's something that happened that you either did or it happened, and you want to avoid this happening in the future. And it's something that you can control, right? It's something that should change. I'm not saying just take action for everything, because that could cause whole different issues. But just, is there anything that like you can do about this thought? Because that's part of why we start ruminating, is because either we're trying to figure something else out, or it's something that we can't control, but we're feeling like we need to be able to control. So is it something that you actually can do something about? And if it is, create a plan, figure something out, take care of it, right? Take some action. And then one thing that I am finding working for me is this mindfulness, getting yourself into the present, because ruminating thoughts tends to deal with something that already happened. It already happened. There's nothing you can do about it. There's also ruminating where you're worried about something happening in the future. Can't do anything about it. It's in the future. So getting yourself into the present it can be really helpful. So for me, some actual mindfulness activities, or maybe it's going for a walk. That's also the same, similar to distraction, but bringing yourself back into the present. And then what I found today is simply smiling. And I think I've done a video before about, actually smiling and what literally that does for our body. But ruminating thoughts tend to be negative. And the simple act of smiling can actually lift our mood. So I found today, that when I just stopped and smiled for a minute, it's very hard to be angry or negative or frustrated and smile at the same time. So that's just like a simple in the moment, just check yourself and smile. And then the one thing that I wanted to say not to do is to tell yourself to stop ruminating, or to tell yourself stop thinking about this. Because there's one thing about thoughts, is once you started thinking about something, you can't not think about it. It's the elephant, don't think about the blue bear. Okay, well, you've told me about the blue bear, so now I'm going to start thinking about a blue bear. So telling yourself to stop thinking about whatever it is you're thinking, stop having the thought, is counterintuitive, like it's counteractive. You're just going to keep thinking about it. So just realize that you are ruminating and do something with that thought. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you. So far it's working, all the distractions and all of that. And I've been really practicing, not just with this, but anytime I have these ruminating thoughts, different techniques. And so this was the first time I actually looked it up, because I was starting to get annoyed with it, and found that, okay, some of the things I'm doing are what we're supposed to do, but I want to be more intentional about doing it in the future. So anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. Hopefully it's helpful. Have a good day.